At last count, there were 39 herring in the Connecticut River. 39. That has to be the saddest number ever. Let me tell you who else may be taken. The flowering dogwood and the fairy slipper, the great laurel and the wild plum, the harsh sunflower and the sweet coltsfoot, the green mountain maidenhair fern. There are 157 plants on the list of the damned. Our planet has been gutted, and Vermont is not spared. You will need your hearts to face this. I know what I'm asking, but better a broken heart than no heart at all, because even a broken heart is still made of love. So my first hope is that you love your mountains. My second hope is that you love each other. Vermont, you have a noble history. You weren't just the first state to outlaw slavery, you were the first sovereign nation to do that. And even after you joined the US, your legislature, your courts, and your citizens made it as difficult as humanly possible for slave owners to capture fugitives. You gave people shelter from one of the most vicious institutions ever created, and you refused to give them up. Build on that legacy, Vermont. The world needs you. The founding documents of your new republic are luminous, with words like solidarity, equality, mutuality. Those are not the commands of the gods of empire. Those are words that speak to that soft social mammal. They're all synonyms for love. They're a new liturgy, a promise and a prayer. What is town meeting but a covenant of neighbors? A covenant born in both the recognition that we need each other and the trust that we can direct our common affairs, that we can be a polity wisely and well. That recognition and that trust are both forms of love. And I think everyone here is old enough to know you don't have to like everyone you love. Solidarity has to be a covenant with your mountains, not one more species, not one. And here is where you must be those reality-based adults. You have to be willing to face the facts. Industrial civilization was a one-time blowout. In the words of Richard Heinberg, the party's over. Maybe 5 generations got to experience the cheap fossil-fueled thrills of consumerism. Maybe 5, and it was only a small slice of those generations, only the very top of the global heap. The rest of humanity was immiserated. It was all based on a vast extraction of oil, coal, metals, and now rare earths. They all have to be ripped from the land, which means people have to be ripped off their land, which means those people have to be ripped in half. And let's be very clear, the only reason we don't know this is because we live behind a military barricade, and inside a media-modulated bubble. Step out from that barricade, Vermont, pop the bubble. One of the horrors of our situation is that not even environmentalists will face the truth. Vermont, I'm begging, face the truth. This way of life is immoral and insane. It's also over. The energy to fuel it is running out. And there is no combination of wind, solar, corn, and fairy dust that can keep it going. Even if there was... Even if there was fairy dust aplenty, it's just more of the same. The wind turbines, the solar panels, the Prius batteries all rest on the same industrial platform. They're dependent on extraction for their materials, and they're dependent on fossil fuel for their manufacture. They're dependent on the same soldiers and guns. They're dependent on the exact same arrangement we have now. Because no one willingly gives up their land, their water, their culture, or their future. We have to talk about rare earths. Now, rare earths are necessary for all the techno-gadgets that are supposed to lead us to that clean, green, promised land. The battery in a Toyota Prius uses up to 33 pounds. The magnets that make a wind turbine spin can use up to 2 tons. Compact fluorescent lights wouldn't light without them. They're also responsible for the dubious joys of cell phones, computers, and guided missiles. Rare earth minerals don't collect in veins like copper or gold, so they're difficult to dig, to separate, and to process. That difficult is a euphemism. Rare earths mean toxic gas, acid water, and radioactive waste. And they require an extraordinary amount of energy. There's that wacky fossil fuel again. At this point, most of the privileged run for cover in what Kunstler calls techno-narcissism, the belief that technology is going to save our ass. I call it technological fundamentalism. It's a religion of the worst kind, demanding faith despite all evidence to the contrary. You can't mine without ripping the world to pieces. Here's a quote from a Chinese farmer near a rare earth mine. The crops stopped growing after being watered. Here's another. Fruit trees don't bear fruit anymore. Fish die in the river. Even the weeds died. Historically, slavery was required for mining. To this day, mercury is traded in 76-pound flasks. Why? That was the load that the slaves in the cinnabar mines of Rome could carry. That 76-pound weight is still with us, only now it's Chinese peasants carrying the burden of our great, green, glorious, low-carbon future. And the Chinese environmentalists who have protested all of this have been tortured by their government. Solidarity, equality, mutuality. As a sovereign nation, you stood against slavery once. You have to take that stand again. Otherwise, you've got beautiful words written in blood. And make no mistake, there is no way to produce a wind turbine without the blood. I think you can do this, Vermont, for 4 reasons. First, at the heart of your new republic, there is a pulse of resistance to industrial technology and its authoritarian requirements. You've got theorists like Patrick Sale and Thomas Naylor. And I can't tell you the delight it gives me that Thomas Naylor does not do email. It's like the one that got away. When I was a kid, I used to watch all those nature shows, and there'd be like this little soft thing running, and then there'd be something with fangs running behind it. And I'd be like, run, buddy, run. It's like, run, Thomas, run. Second is your national character. You have an ethic of common sense, plain dealing, hard work, and Yankee know-how. You don't suffer fools gladly. If there is a people on this planet who can say no to fairy dust, it's you. In your favor also stand your national heroes. I refer, of course, to Helen and Scott Neary. They believed in the dignity of labor, the requirement of art and intellect, the necessity of resistance to the moral rock of empire, and that each of those completed the others. They built houses by hand, stone by stone. They dug a pond using a shovel and sweat. They also wrote dozens of books and started a movement of rural radical populism. Your republic is a direct descendant of their very good lives. Third thing in your corner, you don't actually have any cities. You've got 3 big towns and a whole lot of villages. The template for your built environment was established before the automobile destroyed human scale. We are now under siege. The car has demanded a living arrangement not worth living in. But the fossil fuel age will come to a halt, and human scale will once more direct human affairs. There will be no other option. Places that were built to provide for human society, to encourage and expedite human interactions, have the best chance of surviving that transition. In the end, those human interactions will be our only hope. And we will need to make those interactions call for the best in that word human, not the worst. Solidarity, equality, mutuality. You see how this is all connected. Fourth, the land itself has saved you from some of the worst excesses of civilization. Northern New England is not suited to the annual monocrops of agriculture. The terrain is too steep, the soil is too thin, and the climate is too cold. What you can do here is pastoralism, which is why those cows are iconic. That has every chance of being sustainable, based as it is on a closed loop of grass and ruminants. No coal, no oil, no fairy dust, just sun and rain, just what our one bright star and our good green planet can give us. Don't let anyone talk you out of the food that grows here. Cattle cultures have produced people of stature, grace, and independent spirit the world over. And in the beginning, the great grazing herds of the African savanna produced us, the genus Homo. With our expansive, hungering brains, we were fed and we were grateful. And then we trashed the planet. But the megafauna are still here, waiting to welcome us back. Vermont, you can do this. I know from all sides we hear the endless complaint that it can't be done. That's just factually not true. People start new countries all the time. Since 1990, 34 new countries have been created. Let me speak for reality and tell you what actually can't be done. You can't have an extractive economy without imperialism and genocide. You can't draw down forests and soil and species and evolution itself and have a future. You can't destroy your planet and live on it too. That's what can't be done. But you can restore your democracy and repair this place. Vermont, you can do this. Whatever gods you choose as individuals, let these be the gods of Vermont. Solidarity, equality, mutuality. That means you have to make that covenant with your mountains and with each other. Will it provide you with an endless stream of techno toys and plastic crap? No. But will it provide food, security, community, democracy, and a future? Yes, it is enough. So say these words, and it is good. With every bite of grass made flesh, say those words. With every decision at every town meeting, say those words. With every sighting of your republic's brave flag, say those words. This I know, wherever there is tyranny, the human spirit will resist. So look around the world, with every voice that speaks out, with every heart that fights on, say those words. The end of every day is one day closer to victory, to the end of that longest war ever. So say those words, and it is good. A fitting prayer to the gods of Vermont. The planet is in shreds. The indigenous have been displaced and disappeared.